Hello and welcome. This is Jeff Bird, and this is Encouragement Corner. I want to tell you a story today about a friend who was a pastor about 30 years ago. This man was misdiagnosed with MS for over 20 years. MS is hard to diagnose, and what they ultimately discovered is that he didn't have MS at all. He had a degenerative spinal disorder, and it ultimately confined him to a hospital bed and a wheelchair. And when I would go to his house to work on his wheelchair many years ago, I would hear him in the next room in his hospital bed naming letters, listing letters and commas and periods and spaces. And what he was doing was he had a very early version of the speech to text software installed on his computer. And he was writing Bible study guides for the people of Papua New Guinea. And this is an elderly man now who can't even roll over in the bed without the aid of his wife. And he's confined to that bed in that wheelchair, yet he had such a strong sense of purpose and wanting to bear fruit and do something to help other people that this was what he was doing with his time. He wasn't just sitting there zoning out on soap operas. And he said one time, he said something that I've always remembered, and it came back this week, and this will be so applicable to so many of us. He said, in the Christian life, there are no setbacks. There are only cutbacks so that I can bear more fruit. And what he was referring to is a passage I'd like to read to you from John 15. This is Jesus speaking, and in verse 1, he says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch, and this is skipping down a verse, every branch that bears fruit, he prunes so that it can bear more fruit. So what he's saying is, okay, you might be doing a lot of things right. You might be doing everything right. And the unexplainable happens to you, and it seems like a setback. But what Jesus is saying is it's just a cutback so that you can bear more fruit. And some of the cutbacks seem very, very harsh and severe. And I don't wish them on anybody, but only God knows what that plant needs and what fruit he wants to bring forth from it. My wife calls this, she's a gardener, and she calls this hard pruning. When you cut a plant back far, and you're like, oh my gosh, sometimes I'll tell her, I can't believe you just cut that far back. And we have one plant that we really loved, and we cut it too far back last year, and we killed it. But God never does that. He's not going to kill you. So he knows exactly where to cut and when to cut and the conditions. And it may seem like, wow, that makes no sense at all. But he sees it from a different perspective, from an eternal perspective of what he wants to bring forth and the fruit that you're going to bring forth as a result. But here's the key during the time of cutbacks, because if we're not careful, what'll happen is we'll question God. We'll question the cutback, and we will lose faith, and we will run in the opposite direction, filled with doubt and actually bitterness, probably towards God or circumstances at least, and then we will find something else to try to make our lives more comfortable. It might be other people, it might be an addiction, it might be whatever, to try to escape and to be more comfortable. But what he wants to do, he wants us to do this. Let me read it. This is down a couple of verses. This is in verse 4. He says, abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. So his goal is fruit. He wants to bring forth fruit, but he knows that we can't do it on our own. No tree ever just really strained and popped out an apple. You know, they do it by being planted in the good soil, taking up nutrients, taking in the sunlight, taking in the water, and then they just naturally produce fruit. And that's what Jesus is saying. He said, a branch that abides in the vine will naturally draw nutrients from the vine and produce fruit. And he's saying, I'm the vine. I'm the true vine. I and the Father are one. You take all of that the Father is in eternity, that the God is, that the Almighty, the higher power, the highest power in the universe is, and you funnel that down into a human being, and you get Jesus. That's why he's constantly saying, I am, I am, I am. and he gives a lot of things that he is, and he ultimately said, before Abraham was, I am. So he's saying, stay with me. Don't run away. Don't run the opposite direction in doubt. Stay with me and trust me that I know what I'm doing, and abide in my love. He says that later. Remain in my love. Stay in my love. Just keep feeding off of my love. I sacrificed everything because of my love for you. And just stay there and let me love you. Let me care for you. Just refresh yourself with the stories of my love, the spirit of my love that's right there with you. Receive that and stay there. Don't go running the opposite direction. Abide in me. Abide. And I told my wife earlier this morning, I said, it's like people say to a dog, like, sit, stay, remain. That's like what God's saying to us. Just be still, be there. Don't run off. Just stay right there. I've got something amazing for you on the other side of this cutback. I've got fruit that you wouldn't even believe. So just stay right there. And the fruit, it's described in Galatians. It's love, joy, peace, patience, gentleness, kindness, meekness, faith, self-control. There's all of these things that he's going to bring to the forefront through his spirit, through his goodness toward you. That's what he wants. And the other thing is you get to be a testimony of him. Hebrews says that faith is the evidence of things that can't be seen. So when you're drawing from that supernatural love and support and that can't be seen, then you bring that through your fruit, the change that produces, and you out into the world. And then when people look at that, they have no other explanation. They'll try. They'll definitely try to find another explanation. But the explanation is that God loves you, and he is supernaturally supporting you and sustaining you as you look to him, even in the cutback. So I hope that this is encouraging to you, because a lot of us are in cutback seasons, but I am just convinced, I can just feel on the inside that there is something on the other side of these cutbacks that's more beautiful and that will bear witness to the goodness of God that's just bigger than we can see, and it's going to help other people. So stay true, stay in faith, stay in love, stay with Christ, stay in his love that the Father brought to him and that he brings to us, and let him encourage you. So thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate that. And until next time, God bless you. This is Jeff Bird with Encouragement Corner. Take care.